Big Shot, it dropped October 12th, and the fans are wild about it. What were your thoughts when you read the script this season for Coach Holly's story? What did you think?
Oh my gosh, I was so excited. I mean, I knew it's never a great feeling as an actor when you end a first season being told that you've been transferred out of the school that's the subject of the show. But I knew, that there were plans to bring her back. And when I found out that it was actually that we were going to bring on a boys team and that Holly was going to coach it, it just seemed like such a clever and sort of natural evolution, not only to her story, but also to her relationship with Coach Korn and how, now he's the coach of a girls team and she's suddenly coaching a team that he historically would probably take on.
Yeah, going co-ed really mixed everything up this season. I was excited about that.
Yeah.
When I said that I was interviewing you, everyone wanted to know about Holly's backstory. If she had a character bio, if you had created something for her. So do you find that helpful as an actress if you didn't already have a backstory? And did you create one for her?
Yeah, I always create one to some degree. Sometimes it sort of develops as you get new information about your character, and then you try to sort of find supporting, ways to support their choices, which you kind of base in something that some small thing that you create for yourself. And then as an actor, especially on television, you have to be very flexible because many times you'll say, oh, my character's an only child. And then they'll introduce your brother. And then you're like, except she's not. But one of the details that I actually really like about Holly is that she doesn't have children. And I think so often after you, as an actress, after you are a certain age on television, you always play a mom or you play somebody who not having children is some sort of central part of their personality, some kind of deficit that they're experiencing. And I think she's a really interesting and relatable woman who's devoted to education, who has a really full life, who obviously travels a lot. And I think there was an interesting story in there as to why she chose not to have children. But I just like to be able to explore a woman like that because I feel like it's a story that's often sort of painted as some sort of tragic deficit. And in reality, it's just a different path.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. And you're so right. Often you're the mom or you were the kind of quirky sister or something like that. And there's always, like, you're right, it's always a deficit, but it's not a deficit, it's a choice. So Holly is no longer Marvin's assistant. Now she's coaching the boys basketball team. Do you think that she'll be able to build those same bonds with the boys that she was able to build with the girls?
I really hope so. The young men that we have on the show are great. They've been wonderful additions. One of the interesting things about bringing the boys on is what we really wanted to explore, of course, in so many ways, is how women in sports have such a different experience and how men in sports and boys in sports can be more valued than girls' participation. And I actually think what we learned is you can better tell that story if you have that conflicting information. If you have these girls in a vacuum where there are no boys, then how do you demonstrate the inequities? And so it's been really nice to bring the boys on, and they've been fantastic addition to the set. They've really committed themselves to these storylines. And I think it'd be really interesting to explore their teenage experiences and what it's like for them as young athletes and the pressures that they feel.
Right, because this show is really female forward, but it does kind of mix it up a little bit more drama. And it kind of made the Korn character be a little bit more bonding with the girls, I think, because the boys came on. Yeah, I thought that was a really smart twist this season.
A lot of life is finding common ground. We're not as different as we seem to think we are.
That's true. We have to talk about your chemistry with John Stamos. It is off the charts. To quote the shippers in my inbox this week, "You're driving us into crazy. We can't get enough of Harvin." I guess that's your portmanteau, Harvin. They all have their favorite moments, obviously, but what's your favorite Harvin moment?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. He drives me and Holly insane. I think one of my favorites was when we did a scene after he's moved into my house and we go to school and he's complaining that there's something in my house that's giving him a sinus issue. And, we shot it. It was really fun because we shot it. He was in his office and I was in my office, and they had the cameras on both of us at the same time. So we could really just banter back and forth. And we just got so irritated with each other. And it's like permission to yell, because we really are that distance. And so when you get to scenes like that, you're practically not acting. You're just kind of exercising your own frustrations on each other. And it's really playful and it's really fun. And he's hilarious, so I just like to sort of catch whatever he's tossing my way and then try to throw it back at him as quickly as I can.
But it's not a bad day to be opposite John Stamos, right? Not a bad day.
Listen, somebody's got to do it, and I guess it's me.
I guess it's you. Also on the cast is Yvette Nicole Brown, and as always, she shines as the dean of Westbrook School for Girls. She's hysterical always. She's also Holly's friend, and they love to crack jokes at Marvin's expense, which is one of my favorite parts. So what's your favorite thing about their friendship between Sherilyn and Holly?
Wow. I actually think it's a foundational part of the show and it's all credit to Yvette, who is a masterful actor, because like you say, she's hilarious and she's entertaining, and as soon as she's on screen, you can't take your eyes off her. I mean, she just grabs you, and at the same time she brings a truth to everything that she does. And so we've really been able to explore in very subtle but I think significant ways what it's like for her character to be a woman in power, to be what it took for her to get into that position. And then we worked a lot on this idea of Holly sort of being given these opportunities and then sort of backing off them and letting her self-doubt interfere, and then actually burdening Sherilyn with that. And Sherilyn finally saying, hey, I'm your friend, but you're an adult and you wanted this opportunity. I can't hold your hand through every scenario. And so, when you work with Yvette, nothing is accidental. Nothing is just by chance. Everything has a deliberateness and a truth. And she just holds you to a very, very high standard when you work with her. And I'm incredibly grateful for it, because I think it really makes a lot out of these brief moments that we have together.
Oh, yeah, sure. I think when one actress brings her A game, everyone else has to follow suit, and then she's fabulous in that role. Yeah. Do you have a favorite scene from season 2 that you filmed?
Well, gosh, everything. I love working, and this show is, any show I've ever done, I actually really enjoy, but I really enjoy this show because there's such a sort of positive atmosphere, and I really believe in the subject matter. I'm one of the few, I think, who really enjoy game day. I really like it. I love sports, and I love watching. I mean, these poor girls, they have to run up and down so that I can find things to scream about. And so my side of it is not nearly as challenging as theirs, but I think that celebration of girls playing sports and actually watching it, and there's just nothing. I've never done anything like that before. I think it's really exciting and really powerful. And I love it. I love game day, but I'm the only one because they're really long days and the girls obviously are exhausted. So it's not really fair.
It's not really fair. Did you have a background in sports when you were younger?
Well,
school and stuff like that.
That would be overstating it. But yes, I played sports. I love to play sports. And I was on every team I could get on. And I'll be honest, kids, it is a good way to skip class. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes you miss last period to go to the game, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's honestly, I really liked it. I liked being a part of a team. I played everything. I played basketball, volleyball. I was on track. Probably the best sport for me was distance running, which I still do now. But I was never a contender for anything. I just really enjoyed it, and I think there's a physical upside. There's, obviously a friendships build. And then I think there's also a mental upside as well. I think it's really good to sort of regulate your mood. And so I'm a huge advocate for participation in sports.
Yeah, I think also it helps kids build a dynamic of having to work with, like you were saying earlier, having to find the similarities with people that you might not always find similarities with on the outside. But once you start working together, you do.
It's a lot like acting, when you come to set, you've got, 100 people who are trying to make one thing happen, and everybody has a role, everybody has a position, and somehow you have to fill your role, but also have respect and create space for that other person to make their contribution so that the whole thing can happen. Nobody can do it by themselves. And that's, you know, obviously what it's like to be a part of a team. So I think it's a really valuable thing for anyone to participate in. I don't think you have to be extremely athletic to find the benefits.
Yeah, I agree. You know, fans, they love behind the scenes stories. You know, they were filling my inbox with questions. And have there been any funny behind the scenes moments, maybe in season 2, that you can share with the fans that you had with John and the cast?
Oh, I mean, there's a scene when he moves into the house when he and Sophia move into the house, and he has to open the pull-out couch. And you know, we just thought that would be the joke, is that he has to sleep in the living room. But what we didn't anticipate was how hard it was to open the couch. and you know, John doesn't yell cut on himself. You know, John goes until somebody else yells cut, as a great actor would do. And he ended up dragging that couch like, I mean, it was insane. I'm amazed the man did not put his back out. I mean, and poor Sophia and I were dying. I mean, we were trying so hard not to laugh and ruin the take because John wasn't going to cut. And I think the people behind the camera were just in hysterics watching John, who was so committed to getting this thing open. And, oh, I mean, you know what it's like to open a pull-out couch. It's as he says later on, you could stand to buy a new one. I think she had from the 80s.
That's so funny. You know, so when we get a season 3, I mean, my fingers are crossed. When we get a season 3 of Big Shot, when it's confirmed, what storylines would you like to see them explore, specifically for Holly, but for others as well?
Oh, I think that's what's so fun about a show. Once you sort of get that first season down and you establish your characters, it's funny how you actually realize there's endless possibilities. You think you'll sort of think, oh my gosh, well, what else can we do? We've told it. But in reality, once the characters start to build their dynamics, then you think, well, what would it be like if you put those 2 people in a room? Or what if you put those 2 people in a room? I think it'd be fun really to learn more about Jessalyn. I think her being head of school is really interesting. And she obviously has this family life. And I think we learned a lot about her this year, you know, what she's carrying at home and having a teenage son. And I think there's a lot of room there to see more of Yvette. I think, like you suggested, I think exploring some of the boys' experiences and how that contrasts with the girls would be interesting. And then honestly, what is going to happen with Holly and Marvin? I don't know.
The fans have their opinions, but the fans have all kinds of opinions. But yes, of course, we want to see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm always open to, the writers always have the best ideas. So we'll see what they think.
Well, what do you think it is about this season that gets the fans to have so much fervor for it? What is it about the show that just attracts them and brings them in and gets them so active online?
Gosh, it's been so wonderful. I feel so, I love how communicative people are and how expressive they are and how personal it is for them. I mean, I can relate. I watch shows and I feel that way. But then when you're sort of a part of one, you think, this is amazing. This is why we do it, you know, is to connect with each other. And, you know, in this instance, I think what it is, I hope what it is it genuinely, the experience of the show that you have on screen is the experience we have filming it. We genuinely care. We genuinely like each other. And we, you know, I know for me, I think these are really important stories to explore. I care a lot about young people. I have a daughter myself who's a teenager. This world is moving very, very quickly. There's a lot of information and stimulus coming at our teenagers, and they're trying to make their way. And I think they deserve the time and the space to have their stories told. And I'm really glad that people are responding.
Yeah, they really do love it. And like I said earlier, it's a female forward Gen Z specific show, and the fan base is really enthusiastic. So what advice would you give all of these younger girls who are, you know, really enamored with this show? What advice would you give them if they wanted to break into the business? Maybe something that you had wished you had known when you had first started out.
Oh, wow. Oh, how much time do you have? You know, I think in a lot of ways, like anything in life, everything is a process. And so you might have an end game and you might have a goal and you might have a vision of where you want to get, but things happen in incremental steps. So be open to opportunities, be open to experience, and just show up. You know, there's that idea that, you know, when luck and preparedness meet, you know, that's success or opportunity, however people say it. And so I think for anything in life, you know, if you want to be an actor and you're curious about acting, open a few doors for yourself, take some classes, look online for some auditions, and see if it even suits you. You may like it, you may not like it. It may not be what you think it is. There's a lot of rejection. It doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't hug you at night. It's not your family. It doesn't pay great all the time, you know, so you have to do it because you love it. And if you are curious about it, then start sort of walking in certain directions and having a few experiences to see if it's a fit for you.
I think that's great advice, especially the pay. I think a lot of people have a little bit of a strange misconception about that, and they think it's all glitz and glamour. It's not always. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, and it's really feast or famine. I mean, you spend a lot of time waiting for that next job, and you know, the work itself is a pleasure if you like it, but you know, you're really paid to wait, and there's a lot of waiting.
There's a lot of waiting. Well, what would you like to say to your fans and supporters of your work?
Oh, I mean, I just want to say thank you so much for expressing your enthusiasm for this season. It's meant so much to us. It's meant a lot to me personally. I'm passionate about this project and this subject matter. And yeah, I mean, it's funny, you know, there's so many things about social media that I have issues with, of course, but the fact that we can connect and we can meet each other on a human level, I think is really moving to me. And I never really expected it to be something that I would even experience in my life. But in fact, you know, I do this work because I believe that sort of the expression and exploration of the human condition is what will make us all closer and help us understand each other. And so when people reach out and say, hey, I felt understood, I felt seen, you know, that's better than any other reward that I could get, honestly. So thank you to everyone who's expressed themselves.